This documentary is about some delightful creatures called lemurs and what's being done to save them from extinction in their native land, which is Madagascar. I'm going to be going there to see what's happened to some black and white rough lemurs who were bred in captivity, come on, and were released into the rainforest in Madagascar about 5 months ago. A release like this of lemurs has never been tried before, and if it works, it's good news for all lemurs, not just for you guys. The word lemur means ghost, and that's just what these creatures are, ghosts of our past. Ancient primates that roam the world's forests back in the mists of time. I love saying things like that, but I'll try to stop because I know it's irritating. The simple truth is, I adore lemurs. They're extremely gentle and well-mannered and pretty, and yet great fun. Should have married one. So it's worrying that they may be heading towards extinction. My story starts in Jersey Zoo in the Channel Islands, probably my favorite place on Earth. I first came here 30 years ago, filming for Monty Python, and I was amazed to discover this safe haven, this Noah's Ark for animals which were facing extinction in the wild. Jersey Zoo was set up in the late 50s by Gerald Durrell, whose widow Lee carries on his work. With her help, I managed to channel funds from the Fierce Creatures premiere to send some of these black and white rough lemurs born in captivity back into the wild. Vitally important to the species, but risky for the individuals, so I was rather glad to discover that my old friends here in Jersey had failed the audition. For this particular release that we're talking about, you didn't use lemurs from Jersey?
No, the Jersey Zoo lemurs were not chosen. And the reason is that this project is part of a consortium of zoos. This is an international consortium. But it turns out that the American members of the consortium had the best pool of black and white lemurs from the point of view of genetics. And so it was American ones that we chose for at least these first few phases of the release. In the reserve where the project is taking place, that population of black and white rough lemurs has really crashed. They're only about 30, 35, I think. And so that little population in the reserve itself is critically endangered. And we've been putting these back to, you know, give new bloodlines, new genetics to try to boost those up again.
I see.
So it's a kind of twofold process, yeah.
So if the ones that we've released, 5 months ago, start to interbreed, then that whole population is, virtually saved?
Yes, exactly. So this whole project, you know, it's very important on several different fronts.
So that they don't really become too inbred?
Exactly, that's exactly what it's all about.
Otherwise they'd get like the British upper class. And I wouldn't want that to happen to creatures.
Oh, no, not in Madagascar, please.
Okay. So it was that last year, an elite squad of hand-picked, highly trained rough lemurs found themselves sitting at an airport in North Carolina, waiting to embark on their special mission. The Carolina Five, as they're fondly known, were all born and brought up at Duke University Primate Center in the USA. This carefully selected family group were about to put their survival skills to the test in the wilds of the rainforest. It's a pioneer operation. And the first challenge? A 20-hour plane journey without so much as a decent video. Madagascar lies on the other side of the world from the USA, off the southeast corner of Africa. And if it looks like a tiny little island, it's actually over twice the size of Britain. After 2 days traveling, the Carolina Five were back in the land of their ancestors, headed for their natural habitat, tropical rainforest. They're being taken to a remote spot in the eastern part of the island, where the local population of rough lemurs is dwindling fast. Release site is way up in the mountains, and the only way to get there is on foot. A team of American, Malagasy and British zoologists has been preparing for over a year for this groundbreaking project. And they'll be working in shifts to track the lemurs round the clock for the first critical months. No one knows whether this precious group of 5 lemurs will be able to fend for themselves. In other words, we don't really know if they're going to survive. The fact that the Carolina Five are a family will be crucial in helping them cope with their strange new world. So it's important that they're released together. The mother Presepe is let out first so that the rest of the group can see her. Her mate is next, followed by their children Letitia and Janus, and finally the grandson, Saf. It's up to Presepe to lead the way into the great unknown. And off she goes. It doesn't take too long for the others to catch on, and soon they seem to be bounding through the trees like naturals. Only the daughter, Letitia, gets left behind in the rush.
Still moving really low in the canopy, far lower than we've seen in a while.
The problem now, of course, is to keep up with them. It's important the lemurs don't stray out of the rainforest. There's only so much that the team can do to help them. Otherwise, they're on their own. So 5 months later, following in the footsteps of the Carolina Five, I'm arriving in Madagascar to see how they're getting on. Madagascar, the very name is full of exotic promise. And what's more, it's one of the few places on Earth that Michael Palin hasn't visited, which gives it a certain cachet among truly intrepid explorers. And here I am, British comedian, bred in the captivity of Western-super-Mare, about to be released into the wild thousands of miles from the nearest cappuccino. I wasn't sure what to expect. My first impression is that it's like stepping back in time to a prehistoric world, although the dinosaurs are a little friendlier. It's as if I've stumbled across the leftovers from Jurassic Park, a strange collection of out-of-date models and crazy new inventions that never quite took off. With over 400 recorded species of spider alone, and tens of thousands of insects not yet classified by science, there's the constant danger of treading on something that hasn't even been discovered. Almost all of the creatures here in Madagascar exist nowhere else on Earth, which is a bit of a relief. However, if it wasn't for this place, we wouldn't have lemurs at all. And for me at least, life would lose its meaning. So I'm off to find some, and my first destination is Barenti, a small lemur reserve in the south of the island. "5:30 in the morning, and it's already 80 degrees and rising. I'm up early to go and find my first wild lemur. I've adored them since I fell in love with a ringtail lemur at Bristol Zoo in 1954. And since then there's been a string of relationships, but always, sadly, in zoos. So this is my first field trip, a chance to meet them in the wild, to understand better how lemurs first got to Madagascar, why they survived here when they died out in Africa, and what threatens their future now. The question is, where to start looking for them? I needn't have worried. The forest here is full of ringtails, and if they seem particularly relaxed, I should explain that this was Sunday. The trademark ringed tail makes this easily the best known of all the lemur species. But what I like about them is that they've got bags of attitude. They remind me of football fans on their way to a match, all waving their scarves at one another. These guys are Newcastle United. He's Derby County. And all the ones up there are either Fulham or Notts County. Fulham. Aren't you nice? Aren't you nice? I want your scarf. You bounce. I wish I could bounce. I used to be able to bounce. Ah, well. The tails aren't just for show. They're a vital part of the ringtail's survival kit. When two rival troops cross paths, the tail is their primary weapon in the war over territory. You see, the males rub scent from their wrists into their tail, which is then wafted at the opposition in what zoologists refer to as a stink fight. The mothers lead the attack, carrying their babies into battle, because physical clashes rarely take place. The battle is won or lost on who can produce the most offensive odor. The ones who showered this morning are in retreat. Sunbathing is one of the ringtail's more peaceful pastimes, and it's here that they start to seem strangely familiar to us. They bathe sitting in an almost Buddha-like posture, worshipping the sun to warm themselves up at the start of the day. Like us too, they are very sociable, and they spend much of their time grooming each other. As in human society, each group has a distinct pecking order, and females are very much at the top of the tree. So what with the sunbathing, the socializing, the preening, the bossy women, and the fondness for football matches, it's easy to see why these lemurs get along so well with us human beings. It's as if we've known each other for years. So it may not surprise you to learn that these lemurs and we human beings have a common ancestor. And the best clue to that is if you look at their hand. It's very, very like ours, except that the thumb is not opposable. They can't do that. It's more like a finger down the side. So if these lemurs and we human beings have all these things in common, it's interesting to note that there is one glaring difference.
And that is that these are, compared with us, a little bit dim. Which raises the question, why is it that on the island of Madagascar, our common ancestor developed into these little fellas, whereas on the mainland of Africa, it developed into a species that has put one of its own on the moon?
The answer, in a word, is competition. 60 million years ago, we were all tiny, primitive, lemur-like creatures living together on the mainland of Africa. But as time went on, competition from other mammals in Africa for
Entire lives training them to do somersaults.
Oh, do shut up. I was keen to meet some of those different species for myself, so I travelled to a private lemur sanctuary on the east coast because the guide there, Sylvan, speaks fluent lemur. All kinds and colours of lemurs simply appeared from nowhere. Balls of fur peeking through the trees, lured by the promise of a free banana.
Hello? I don't know, do you like the skins or would you be insulted? No. Come on, banana's here.
No, please.
I like this black one, he's okay, isn't he?
Yeah.
A little bit scared, I can get one. Oh, he is scared.
Be careful for this one, no?
Yeah, which
Don't
one? That one? Yeah, I
yes.
blocked him out.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get it to you, darling, and you keep running away. You are beautiful, aren't you? You are just...
You wouldn't find all these species sharing dinner in the wild, but here at the sanctuary, they're learning how to get along together.
Black lemur, this one.
Yes.
The pretty ones seem to be the shyest.
Don't see?
Oh, well.
Second.
Oh, yes.
Yeah,
Yes, I can see movement. Oh, he's wonderful.
yeah.
Oh, my God, he's
Best
beautiful.
jumping
Is that a shifak?
Sifaka, cocker sifaka.
I wish he'd come on.
The most resplendent is proving to be particularly bashful.
Come on, cockroach shifaka. I want to feed him.
Make.
No. How do I get that? Oh, look at you. God, you're pretty.
The gorgeous cockerel shifakas seem to be a bit dubious about mixing with the others. It was as if they were somehow above it all.
Oh, look. No. The cockroach shifaka. Come on. Banana.
Eventually, our persistence paid off.
Come on. Look. Yes. Now, is that good or is that good? You want the whole thing? Ah, that's good. Excellent. And where's the third one? Up there. Now, how do I get to you? I have an idea. Banana on a stick. Ah, that's good. And these guys are obviously used to having things brought to them on a silver platter. They look like judges, don't they? You know, in the English law courts, they wear these silly wigs, and they've always got big eyes, because they look as though they've just woken up. What's that noise?
They're fried.
What?
If they're fried, they can make a...
Oh. Well, don't be fried. Don't be fried.
I may have scared the shifakas off, but I was proving a hit with the others.
Yeah, that's right. You can have that. Ooh, little sharp teeth. I should explain that these lemurs have no real interest in me as myself. The word for human being in the local lemur dialect, literally translated, is creature who may be bringing us bananas. Ah! Still, I'd rather be in a tree with one of these than with a leopard.
There are now 33 species of lemur in Madagascar, and they all evolved from that original rafting ancestor. So how did one species turn into so many? Well, you don't have to look far to find an analogy. As with many things in life, it all comes down to market forces. You see, if you and your friends wanted to found a new town, it just wouldn't work if you all wanted to be an undertaker or a folk singer. I mean, the competition would be horrendous. So you'd all agree to learn different skills if necessary. In exactly the same way, the lemurs evolved in different directions so that they wouldn't all be in competition for exactly the same food. In fact, in time, every different type of food had a lemur specially adapted to enjoy it. And scientists call this process adaptive radiation, meaning that the lemurs evolved outwards, they radiated towards all the different available kinds of food. The lemurs flourished. So, as the market became ever more crowded, the different lemurs had to specialize their particular skills more and more to find new ways of making a living. And that's the end of the obligatory brightly colored market sequence. I'm standing in front of what must be the most glorious example of specialized skills in the lemur world. These are Veroschifakas. Instead of just feeding in the typical forest where they would be in competition with other lemurs, they've found a way of supplementing their diet in the most hostile habitat. The reason they can do this is because of their incredible jumping skills. On the outskirts of the main forest lies an area which is only accessible to these leaping lemurs. This is the spiny forest. The trees here are covered with tightly packed thorns, like strands of barbed wire, which the Shifakas have learned to pick their way between. But getting round the spiny forest is where their true skill lies. No one understands exactly how, but the Shifaka can jump sideways over 30 feet with astounding accuracy, landing each time with its toes perfectly placed to avoid the thorns. It's a ballet of spectacular precision. But sooner or later, the Shifakas have to come down to the ground, and then getting around is a different story. Their long legs are built for leaping, their backs for sitting up straight, and their toes for clinging to tree trunks. So in the long process of evolution to become tree-hopping specialists, Shifakas have lost the ability to move on all fours like other lemurs. So they get around by bouncing sideways. They remind me of Edwardian waiters on Benzedrine. But in the air or on the ground, the Shifaka's movement has to be one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. I should be having an early night, as tomorrow we start the tough journey into the rainforest to find the Carolina 5. But I just can't resist this last opportunity to see a very rare lemur indeed.
Good evening. I'm now going to see if I can find the weirdest of all the lemurs. It's nocturnal, and it is described as having the ears of a bat, the tail of a fox, the teeth of a beaver, the body of a microwaved cat, and witch's hands with an incredibly elongated and skeletal middle finger. This gruesome creature is called the Eye, and the locals believe it to be an evil spirit.
Like a cat burglar, the Eye has evolved a set of tools to get into places no other lemur can reach. Its teeth never stop growing, so that they can cope with the wear and tear of sawing through tough cases like a coconut shell. Huge radar dish ears can hear insects moving beneath tree bark. But most remarkable of all are their hands, which are like Swiss Army penknives. Each digit seems to be adapted for a different job. One of the fingers is thin enough to winkle bugs out of the tiniest crevices. I was keen to see this in action, so I brought a bamboo stick, which we'd stuffed full of delicious grubs to tempt the Eye down. Yes, that's it. Oh, delicious. Being born with your very own chopstick is very clever. Is that as good as it sounds? There we are. My God, they're ugly. Well, I've seen it all now. Scary lemurs, baby lemurs, posh lemurs, sporty lemurs, ginger lemurs, well, till quite recently. In fact, a multitude of lemurs exploiting every inch of this beautiful island. So, what's gone wrong? Why are they suddenly dying out? Well, a couple of predators pitched up. The first is a form of meat-eating mongoose whose ancestor washed up here about 40 million years ago and has since evolved to the size of a puma. It's called a fossa, and I'm afraid it feeds mostly on lemurs. But it's pretty rare, and so it doesn't pose a significant threat. However, the other predator has been much more of a problem, and it's a distant relative of the lemurs. Us, I'm afraid. We arrived 2,000 years ago and immediately started throwing our weight around. Because competition had forced us to develop such large brains, instead of having to adapt to suit our new habitat, we were now smart enough to adapt our new habitat to suit us. So we began to chop down trees in order to plant crops, graze cattle, build roads and so on, leaving so little forest standing that nowadays it exists only in isolated pockets inhabited by marooned bands of lemurs. Homo sapiens? Homo hooliganus, more right. I'm now on my way to one of those few remaining bits of forest to try to find the Carolina 5. I have to say it was with a twinge of apprehension that I found myself leaving the last vestiges of so-called civilization behind. The great old-fashioned railway gives way to what is satirically referred to here as road. But to be fair, bits of it are, though most of it isn't. As we headed further and further into the middle of nowhere, the track eventually became impassable, and I had to continue on foot. Fortunately, the project's American director, one Charlie Welch, who's been working out here for 10 years, was there to greet me and to lead me up to the camp. Okay, let's see if I can get out of here without banging. It's good to see you.
Good to see you after all this time.
Oh.
How was it?
Well, it often surprises me in documentaries like this how the dialogue, although spontaneous, nevertheless manages to sparkle. We set off on what turned out to be a 2-hour climb. It was getting hotter, and the humidity was 90%. Charlie told me that waiting at the camp was an English scientist, the aptly named Adam Britt from London Zoo, who would be leading me on tomorrow's search to find our lemurs. Are we nearly there yet? The camp we're heading for lies perched on an isolated hill several miles from, well, anywhere really. So that's Batampana Nature Reserve.
All the area that you see in the background, the forested mountains, are in the reserve.
But there's quite a clear line there, Charlie, between the lighter green and the darker. Is that cultivated?
Yeah, well, that's the southern limit of the reserve, and the lighter green on the downslope is, yeah, it's all cultivated land, and the forest on the upslope is all primary rainforest.
Okay, and how big is the reserve altogether?
Altogether, the reserve is 2,200 hectares.
I pretended I knew what a hectare was, and on we went. This really is the end of the earth, and I thought Western-super-Mare was remote. By the time we arrived at the camp, it was almost dusk. My dodgy knee was hurting, and the rest of my legs were going on strike, as were my heart, lungs, and body cooling system. Waiting to greet us was Adam Britt. Surprisingly, he'd forgotten that scientists are supposed to wear long white coats.
You made it then.
Just. I can't say the last half hour.
Yeah, sure.
Adam's been up here for 9 months now, so he's pretty well acclimatized.
Anyway,
absolutely.
Show you to your luxury accommodation.
Sensing my obvious need to try not to die, Adam offered to delay any discussions about the lemurs until I'd had a rest. The camp, which has been Adam's home for the last year, is like a model African village, so perfectly simple and pretty, it hardly seems real. But it's a very real existence for Adam's wife, Kerry, who said goodbye to family and friends in Britain to make a home with him out here in the rainforest for the next 3 years. It was tough today. 3 hours of driving, worst roads I've ever seen. Parts of them are fine, and then you come around the corner and there are these little mini lagoons, and you go down into one, down into the next. And then 2 hours of walking, almost all uphill. The first hour is fine, and then the humidity begins to get you. I mean, I've never sweated like this in my life. And I guess you lose salts because last 20 minutes was a real struggle. Anyway, I'm going to have a little kip now. I may be gone some time. Well, at least there's something for dinner. Dinner turned out to be boiled rice. And while it was cooking, Adam and I had our first real chat about the Carolina 5, whom he'd been radio tracking. The mother, Presepi, and her family had been doing okay. But now he had some bad news for me. A few days ago, he'd lost sight of the youngest female in the group, Letitia.
Yeah, I'd been looking for her for sort of several hours and getting a very strong signal. I knew she was close by, but just couldn't locate her at all. Finally sat down, lit a cigarette. Just as I put the cigarette out, looked down to my left, and there was the skull. And close by was the radio collar as well. And that was pretty much all that was left, apart from the stomach contents from her last meal. It was a pretty upsetting moment, really. Sort of spent most of the day just sort of wandering around the forest on my own for the rest of the day, not really wanting to come back here and have to break the news to everybody.
Well, that's what you dread more than anything else.
I actually exclaimed no extremely loudly. I'm surprised they couldn't hear me down at the camp. But, yeah, because I knew immediately as soon as I caught a glimpse of the skull, I knew it was, I recognised it as a rough lemur skull, and it was pretty obvious what had happened.
Adam showed me the bite marks on the skull. It was clear that Letitia had been killed by a Fusa.
Grabbed Letitia and so I don't know whether the animal also got a better grip by gripping around the eyes, or it's possible.
The news about Letitia was obviously upsetting, but at least it seemed that the other 4 were doing well. Female, how do you say her name? Is it Presepi?
Presepi.
Presepi?
Yeah.
And she's off with Jason?
No, she's with Zubanubi.
Oh, I can't remember. Zubanubi, okay.
Yeah, and it's Janice and Saf who are...
So Janice and Saf are the ones who are close.
Yeah.
And Presepi and Zubanubi could be a little bit harder to find.
Yeah, I mean, they could be about 3.5 kilometres from here and some considerable distance to the west of the trail.
Still, it's a nice cool day forecast tomorrow, I heard. The low 50s.
Oh, I wish.
I wish. At 6 a.m., while it was still cool-ish, Adam led the way into the rainforest, which has become his office for the last 9 months. It's one hell of a way to get to work. I always pictured rainforest as being flat, Adam. Much of it vertical?
Yes, pretty much all of it here is rather like this. That's probably one of the main reasons why it's still here.
Yeah, I see your point. After last night's news of Letitia's death, I was obviously worried about the chances for the rest of the group. But Adam explained that the others are spending more and more time high up in the trees, where they are safer from the fossa. But that means they're becoming very difficult to observe. So most of the research is now done by collecting and sifting through their droppings to find out what they've eaten and how healthy they are. So, if we don't actually get to see them, we can at least show you some of their shit. Well, we've come about 1.5 miles into the rainforest, uphill, and Adam's helpers have raided us saying that our lemurs are about 400 yards in that direction. But as you can see, the forest is so impenetrable, they might as well be in Ethiopia. So we're going to wait and hope that the lemurs will come round a bit closer to the trail, which means that we now can have lunch. As you can see, I've brought my own napkin. Cool. After lunch, a cold risotto with rice sauce and rice on the side, the waiting began. As there's not a lot to occupy the mind up here, I decided to run through the 1953 Bristol City team. Cook, Guy, Bailey, Reagan, Peacock, Jack White, Captain Jimmy Rogers, John Attier, Arnold. Well, we've been waiting here for 4 hours, and the lemurs haven't moved at all. So, well, it's a long way to come to Madagascar, so we're going to go looking for them. You just stay there on your sofas and your armchairs, you know. Make yourself another nice cup of tea or a gin and tonic, perhaps. I'll go in here for you. Don't worry about me. I'll go into the death trap. I'll be fine. I'll be all right. Or if I'm not, you'll read about it in the papers, so don't worry. Suddenly, I spotted something. There. Where? Do you see, through the fork? It's David Attenborough. Hello, David. How are you doing? What are you up to? Oh, good for you. Says he's got some great footage of some black and white rough lemurs. Let's steal it. Unfortunately, David could run faster than me, so before long, Adam and I were back on the trail again. What's so crazy about this bit?
Well, I'm here to break your fall.
That's very nice, but you're not as plump as I would like. My knee was playing me up again. I don't like this getting old. I don't want to slip off too fast, right?
This is where things do start to get very slippy.
Oh, I was wondering where it would get difficult, you know this?
So just sort of take it really steady.
Well, I was going to do it as fast as I possibly could,
That's
but
that's the other method, actually. Just get down on your backside.
Oh, I see. There are still these nice trees for us to hang on to occasionally. I think I've got a problem here.
Well, you could try coming round the top.
Suddenly, from somewhere came that familiar sound. Adam's trained eye caught the glimpse of a tail.
They're moving further away.
How fast are they moving, Adam? Have you any idea?
Well, I mean, it's not that they move terribly fast, but the thing is that...
Faster than us.
Well, I mean, they can move
hinting at
directly through the canopy.
Oh, yes, I just saw one.
Oh, there he goes.
He jumped up.
Yeah.
Well, that was fantastic. I know some of you at home will be asking, was it worth it? Was it worth flying 11 hours to the southern tip of Africa and then another flight and then 3 or 4 hours on the worst roads I've ever seen and then 4.5 hours hike to get here, just to get a glimpse of one of the lemurs for maybe a second and a half, 150 yards away? Well, of course it wasn't worth it. I mean, are you mad? Would you do it? Whole thing is a total washout. You
You little bastards!
The little bastards had retreated to the most impenetrable part of the forest, but Adam had another plan. Unfortunately, we were now only half a mile from the usual feeding spots of the parents, Presepi and Zubanubi. It was just possible that he could find a way of getting me down to them instead.
Adam's gone down while we're taking a break. He's going to see if he can see the lemurs down there. If he does, we'll give it another go.
Of course, if it weren't for the camera, I'd have left hours ago. I found myself trying to remember what induced me to make this stupid program in the first place. It wasn't the money.
How was it? Worth a go?
We could get a shot of you with the lemurs, I reckon.
Okay, let's do it.
It's a bit steep, but I think if we go down...
How much of it is steep?
Most of it.
So, off we went again.
Ah, fuck, let's find out. So they're up the top there.
Yeah. Oh, yes. If you just come down here, John. Yeah. Awkward, this palm is actually in the way, but if you look just up there...
Ah, yes. Yes,
That's
I got him.
Zubanubi and Presepi.
Oh, marvellous.
So that's 3 out of 4 you've seen. That's not bad at all.
It's Presepi with the tail hanging down.
No, that's Zubanubi.
That's Zubanubi.
We've shaved to enable us to identify
Yes.
like a French poodle. Oh, and yeah, he's just producing a sample for me.
Oh,
If
that's
I,
nice.
if I can
That's your homework.
retrieve, yes, something to take
Oh,
home with
yes,
me.
something to take home with you. A little memento.
Okay, well,
A few seeds. His tail looks very funny, doesn't it?
yeah.
Oh.
It's quite effective because I mean
More homework.
We did that on the 10th of November and it's still very clear.
He looks just terrific. He looks as fluffy as he could be,
Oh, they seem to have,
grooming himself. Well, that's very satisfactory.
Oh, and she's producing something as well. So. I want to remember all these places and then run around with a plastic bag later.
Now she's moving away.
I think she just turned around. Oh, she's going to take a leap. Whoa, there she is.
big leap.
Oh, I think we'll lose her there in that tangle.
It was wonderful to see them at last, blissfully going about their business in the wild as if Duke Primate Centre had never existed. So, all in all, and despite Letitia's death, the experiment so far is going better than anyone could have hoped. The new diet obviously agrees with them. In the 5 months since their release, Adam has recorded over 200 different types of fruit in their droppings. In fact, the black and white ruffs are so efficient at dispersing seeds that they actually play a crucial part in keeping the forest alive. But it's vital that the Carolina Four continue their mission because their biggest test is still to come. They need to mate with the native rough lemurs in order to introduce new genes into the population. In the next few months, the breeding season begins, and lemurs only mate for a couple of days a year. So we're all hoping that their biological clocks will have adjusted to Southern Hemisphere time. Only then can the project be called a real success? Meanwhile, we must just wait. That night I fell into a deep coma and woke next morning to find that I had come to the front of the shower roster. I don't think I ever welcomed a wash so much in my entire life. Never before has so little water been put to such good use.
Oh, so good.
In fact, for the first time in my life, I appreciated how lucky I was not to have more hair. So today I leave camp and begin the long haul back to London and a decent meal. It really has been an experience of a lifetime, and quite enough for one lifetime. I'm not really made for this sort of life. Call me old-fashioned if you will, but I prefer my clothes dry. Well, it was pretty tough yesterday, but it was good to see the lemurs, and it was great to see them looking so well. And we got off pretty lightly, really. I mean, 11 hours in the rainforest, a few leeches bite, one crew member carried down to the coast with fever, one production manager with a hand blown up to twice the normal size. But the point is, we're out of here now. And Adam isn't. You see, Adam's gone back up to his office this morning to get a bucket full of lemur shit. He is, of course, completely mad. Fortunately. I've met a few conservation people recently, and they impress me an awful lot as people. But all the good work they're doing, breeding endangered species and trying to reintroduce them into the wild, goes for nothing without someone like Adam. I mean, he's really at the sharp end. He's in the office every day in the heat, the humidity, the biting insects. And then he comes back up here in the evening. No hot and cold running water, no television. Nothing ever really gets dry. And the big treat is corned beef. So I found myself thinking, as I left camp, that maybe the great thing about evolution is not just that it throws up black and white ruffed and ring-tailed lemurs and cockroach shafakas and aye-ayes, but also people like Adam and Kerry, who've given up practically everything to help 4 lemurs, who in turn could save a population of wild lemurs, and perhaps a whole rainforest. Wish I had that dedication. Now, when I get to the restaurant, I'm going to start with foie gras, not pâté, but a foie gras entier with fruit sauce, perhaps peach, and then fish mousse, prawn mousse with sauce and dancing glass.